Now, when it comes to some other schools of thought, some Sunni schools of thought, they do have other things that invalidate the wudu. For instance, Ash-Shafi'i, the leader of the Shafi'i school of thought, he used to say that touching a woman, in the Shafi'i school of thought, touching a woman invalidates your wudu. Yes, I know this sounds strange to you, but there are some schools of thought who actually believe this. So if a person is in a state of wudu, they're about to pray, and God forbid, the husband touched his wife, or he touched his daughter, or whatever, khalas, you have to redo the wudu, according to these schools of thought.
Also touching the private parts also breaks.
Well, if touching the woman will break the wudu, obviously.
No, your own.
Oh, one's own, in some schools of thought. Yeah, we don't have that in our school of thought. So that's what Shafi'i would say. Abu Hanifa, he disagreed. He said no. Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he said it invalidates your wudu if you touch a woman with desire, with lust, right? So if a husband touches his wife casually, that does not invalidate the wudu. But if he touches her with temptation, with desire, that invalidates his wudu. Just touching, mere touching. Yeah, a sexual touch. Now, what is their basis, right? For example, Shafi'i, when he said that touching any woman, for any reason, invalidates the wudu, what's their logic? They cite a verse in the Holy Quran that says, the same verse of wudu, the same verse that talks about wudu being wajib, in the end of the verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and if you لَامَسْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ أَوْ لَامَسْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ, or if you touch woman, then that invalidates your, tahara, your state of purity. These guys like Shafi'i, because unfortunately they don't take the knowledge from Ahlul Bayt, they were misguided into taking this literally. The Quran is a book that is based on respect, on using appropriate phrases. So when the Quran would talk about certain acts, the Quran usually avoids explicitly talking about them, because the Quran is a book that is based on wisdom, and everyone reads, the book, men, women, children. So Allah uses appropriate phrases. So when God says, when you touch women, that invalidates your state of tahara, what is He meaning? What is that a metaphor for? Sexual. Right, sleeping with a woman, not just touching her. And the Imams of Ahlul Bayt have elaborated on that. It was very clear. I mean, this was an expression that Arabs would use. If you want to say, you refer to the act without explicitly referring to it, you would just say touching a woman or approaching a woman. So this is common in our hadiths. قَارَبَ زَوْجَتَهُ, he approached her, right? But the hadith means the act itself. So yes, we do have a verse in the Quran, but that's not what it means. It's just a metaphor that God is using because God wants to speak in an appropriate language. Allah doesn't want to explicitly mention the act. So He said, لَامَسْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ. Now there's also a linguistic discussion here. What's the difference between lamasa and lamasa? That's beyond our scope now. But the school of Ahlul Bayt refuses this fatwa, this ruling, that if a man just touches a woman, his wudu becomes invalid. That's not acceptable. In the school of Ahlul Bayt, it does not. Even, now some have said, if she's in her cycle and you touch her, that would invalidate. No, we don't recognize that either. Even if a woman is in her cycle and a man touches her, that does not invalidate his wudu in any way. Those things that invalidate wudu are these 11 things we discussed. That's it. Nothing else.